Hey guys, in this video we are going to study essential elements of a valid contract under the Indian Contract Act 1872. This topic is very important because whenever a question comes about whether a contract is valid or not, we always check these essential elements. If even one single essential is missing, the contract becomes invalid. So understanding these essentials is very important for exam as well as practical understanding. So let's start our video. Now, before understanding contracts, we must first understand difference between legal obligation and social obligation. Only those agreements which create a legal obligation are called contracts. Legal obligation means an obligation which can be enforced by law. If a person fails to perform such an obligation, the other party can approach the court. Such agreements are covered under the Indian Contract Act 1872. Some agreements are social or domestic in nature. For example, agreement to go to a cinema, to go for a walk, or to have dinner together. These agreements are based on friendship, trust, and social relations. They do not create any legal obligation. If one person does not perform such an agreement, the other person cannot file a case in court. Similarly, domestic agreements between husband and wife are also not contracts because there is no intention to create a legal relationship. Now, Section 10 of the Indian Contract Act explains the essential elements of a valid contract. According to this section, an agreement becomes a contract only when certain conditions are fulfilled. These essential includes agreement, free consent, competency of parties, lawful consideration, lawful object, and the agreement should not expressly declared void. All these conditions must exist together for a contract to be valid. Essential number one, agreement. The first and most basic essential of a valid contract is agreement. There must be at least two parties to form an agreement. One person alone cannot make a contract. An agreement is formed when one party makes an offer and other party accepts that offer. Without agreement, there cannot be no contract at all. Offer. For an agreement to exist, there must be an offer or a proposal. An offer is made by one party to another party. The offer must show willingness to do something or not to do something. It is the first step in the formation of a contract. Without an offer, there is nothing for the other party to accept. So, yeah, acceptance. Once an offer is made, it must be accepted by the other party. Acceptance means giving the consent to the terms of the offer. Acceptance must be communicated properly. If the offer is not accepted or if acceptance is not communicated, then no agreement is formed and no contract comes into existence. Essential number two, free consent, section 14. The second essential of a valid contract is free consent. Consent means both parties agreed to the same thing in the same sense. According to section 14, consent is said to be free when it is not caused by coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, or mistake. If consent is not free, the contract is affected and may become voidable or void. Factors affecting free consent. There are certain factors which affects free consent. These includes coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, and mistake. If consent is obtained by any of these factors, then consent is not free. Such contracts are not considered fully valid under the law. Essential number 3, competency of parties, section 11. The third essential of a valid contract is competency of parties. Only those persons who are legally capable can enter into a contract. Section 11 of the Indian Contract Act defines who is competent to contract. If one person is not competent, the contract becomes invalid. Conditions of capacity. To be competent, To contract, a person must satisfy three conditions. First, the person must be major, that it is 18 or above. Second, the person must be of sound mind, as explained under section 12. And the third, the person must not be disqualified by the law. If any of these conditions is not fulfilled, the contract is not valid. Fourth essential of a valid contract is lawful consideration. Consideration means something in return. Every agreement must be supported by consideration. Also, the consideration must be lawful. If the consideration is illegal or unlawful, the agreement becomes void. Legal object. The fifth essential of a valid contract is legal object. The object means purpose of the contract. The object must be lawful. If the object of the contract is illegal or against the public policy, the contract becomes void and unenforceable. Sixth essential is the agreement should not be expressly declared void by the law. Some agreements are specifically declared void under the Indian Contract Act. If agreement falls under this category, it cannot become a valid contract if even if all other essentials are present. Apart from these, the essentials mentioned in section 10, there are some additional essentials recognized by the court. These includes intention to create legal relationship, certainty of meaning, possibility of performance, and compliance with legal formalities. Now we're gonna discuss each term one by one. Intention to create legal relationship. For a contract to be valid, parties must have the intention to create legal relationship. This intention distinguishes a contract from a social promise. If there is no intention to create legal relations, the agreement is not enforceable by law. Certainty of meaning. The terms of agreements must be clear and certain. If the meaning of agreement is vague and uncertain, then it cannot be enforced by the law. Such agreements are considered void due to uncertainty. Possibility of performance. The agreement must be capable of performance. If the agreement involves an act which is impossible to perform, then such agreement is void. Law does not recognize or enforce impossible agreements. Legal formalities. In certain contracts, legal formalities are compulsory. Some contracts must be in writing, some must be registered, and some requires stamp duties. If these legal formalities are not followed, the contract becomes invalid. So that is it. Um, if you want the PDF, the link is in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.